The car climbs steadily upwards on Route 100, the engine humming a low, capable note as it ascends into the Green Mountains. This is the scenic highway that runs north-south through the spine of Vermont, widely considered one of the most beautiful drives in New England. But the mountains are not green today. This is Vermont in mid-October, the peak of foliage season. The Japanese call it koyo, the viewing of autumn leaves. Here in New England, it is called leaf-peeping, and people travel from across the world to witness it. The road is hemmed in on both sides by a tunnel of fire. Sugar maples line the highway, their leaves transformed into fountains of orange and gold. These are the trees that give Vermont its liquid gold, the maple syrup that runs each spring when the sap rises. But in autumn, they give a different kind of treasure. Their broad, five-pointed leaves turn every shade from lemon yellow through pumpkin orange to deep, blood crimson. Red maples add their own contribution, their leaves a deeper, more purplish red. Birches stand out with their white paper bark and yellow coins for leaves, shimmering and catching the light. And the oaks, slower to turn, are just beginning their transformation to rust and bronze. The colors are so vibrant, they almost look artificial. Neon orange that hurts the eyes. Deep, bruising purple. And a yellow so bright it seems to generate its own light, glowing from within like a candle. The road is paved with fallen leaves. They swirl in the wake of the car, a dry, rustling confetti of amber and gold. The tires make a satisfying crunching sound as they roll over them. The window rolls down. The air rushes in. It is cold. Sharp. It smells of dried corn stalks and wood smoke from distant chimney. There is an undertone of decaying leaves, rich and earthy, the smell of compost and renewal. It is the smell of the year winding down, preparing for the long sleep of winter. There is no traffic, just the car and the trees. Occasionally, a white clapboard church passes by, its steeple pointing towards the blue sky like a finger. These are the classic Vermont meeting houses, built in the 19th century, painted white with black or green shutters, looking exactly like they belong on a calendar. A red barn appears on the left, its paint faded to a soft vermilion. The barn doors are open, revealing stacked bales of hay inside. A wooden silo stands beside it, listing slightly with age. It is a working farm, but it looks like a postcard, a scene unchanged for 100 years. The light is different this time of year. The sun is lower in the sky, even at midday, casting long, golden shadows that make everything look gilded. The quality of the light is softer, more forgiving, wrapping the landscape in a warm amber glow. A sign appears, covered bridge ahead. The road dips, and there it is, spanning a shallow river. The bridge is painted a traditional Vermont red, its wooden structure a reminder of 19th century engineering. Slowing down, entering the covered tunnel. Inside the bridge, the light dims to a cool shadow. The sound of the tires changes, echoing off the wooden walls. Looking through the opening at the far end, the trees beyond are framed like a painting in a gallery. A perfect composition of red, orange, and gold, with the silver ribbon of the river below. Emerging from the bridge, pulling over to a small parking area. Stepping out. The silence is immediate. The only sound is the gentle burble of the river, flowing over smooth stones. Walking to the edge of the bridge, looking down. The water is crystal clear, cold and pure, flowing from the mountains above. Fallen leaves float on the surface, spinning slowly in the current, little boats of color sailing downstream. A fish darts beneath the surface, a flash of silver. It is a brook trout, native to these waters. The river is shallow here, perhaps knee-deep, with a bed of rounded granite stones polished smooth by centuries of water. Standing there for a long moment, just listening to the river. The sound is incredibly soothing, a natural white noise that empties the mind. The cold air fills the lungs, clean and sharp. Back in the car, continuing north. The road winds through a small village. A general store with a wide front porch catches the eye. There is no choice but to stop. The store is called the Green Mountain General Store, and it looks like it has been here since the Civil War. The porch is lined with rocking chairs and displays of pumpkins, gourds, and dried corn stalks. A handwritten sign advertises fresh apple cider donuts. Inside, the floorboards creak with age. The shelves are stocked with local products. Maple syrup in glass bottles shaped like maple leaves, sharp Vermont cheddar cheese wrapped in black wax, jars of apple butter and pumpkin preserves. The ceiling is made of pressed tin, painted white. An old wood stove sits in the corner, radiating gentle heat. At the counter, ordering a bag of the apple cider donuts. They are still warm, dusted with cinnamon sugar, their surface slightly crunchy, their interior soft and moist. Eating one right there, standing by the wood stove. It is transcendent, tasting of autumn itself, of apples and spice and comfort. Buying a few things to take to the farmhouse. A wedge of the cheddar. A jar of local honey. A small jug of pure maple syrup, grade A dark robust, the kind with the deepest flavor. Back in the car, the smell of apple donuts filling the cabin. The drive continues, winding higher into the mountains. The road becomes narrower, less traveled. The houses become fewer, more spread out. This is deep Vermont, rural and quiet, where neighbors are separated by acres of forest. The tension of the city slips away with every mile marker. The shoulders drop. The grip on the steering wheel softens. This is driving into the heart of autumn, and the heart is welcoming. A gravel driveway appears on the right, marked only by a small wooden sign, Maple Ridge Farm. The stones crunch satisfyingly under the tires as the car turns in. The driveway winds through the trees, climbing a gentle hill. And there it is. The farmhouse. White wood siding, worn to a soft cream by decades of sun and weather. Black shutters frame the windows, practical remnants from the days before air conditioning, when they were closed against the summer heat. A wraparound porch encircles the house like arms, wide and welcoming, clearly built for sitting and watching and doing nothing at all. The house is old, perhaps 200 years. It sits on a foundation of granite blocks, hand-cut from the nearby hills. The roofline sags slightly in the middle, the gentle settling of age. But it is solid, anchored to this hillside, having weathered 2 centuries of Vermont winters. This is home for the weekend. This is the destination. This is where the world stops. Stepping out of the car, the door closes with a solid thunk. The silence is immediate. It is not empty silence. It is full silence, full of the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, full of the distant call of a crow, full of the creak of old wood expanding in the afternoon sun. The air is different here. It is noticeably thinner, cleaner, lacking the invisible grit of the city. Each breath feels like drinking cold water. The lungs expand fully, perhaps for the first time in weeks. Walking towards the house, the boots crunching on the gravel, then silent on the thick carpet of fallen leaves that covers the path. The leaves are ankle-deep here, drifts of gold and red piled against the stone foundation, nature's autumn blanket. The front steps are made of wide granite slabs, worn into shallow bowls by generations of feet. They are solid and heavy, rooted to the earth. The porch boards creak softly, a friendly sound announcing the arrival. The front door is made of heavy oak planks, painted a deep forest green. The paint is slightly cracked, peeling in places, revealing older layers beneath, a stratigraphy of color going back decades. The door handle is worn brass, polished smooth by 100 years of hands. It turns with a satisfying weight. The door opens inward, revealing the entrance hall. The air inside is still and cool. It has that particular smell of old houses, a mix of old wood, beeswax polish, dried apples, and a faint undertone of wood smoke from countless fires in the hearth. It is a comforting smell, grandmotherly and safe. The eyes adjust to the dimmer light. The entrance hall is small, with an umbrella stand, a row of hooks for coats, and a worn Persian rug in faded reds and blues. A staircase rises on the left, its banister smooth and dark with age. The living room opens to the right. It is larger, with wide plank floors of heart pine, the boards uneven and full of character, worn into gentle waves by centuries of use. The walls are plaster, painted a soft cream, hung with old oil paintings of Vermont landscapes. The furniture is antique but comfortable, a mix of wing chairs and a deep sofa covered in worn velvet. The massive stone fireplace dominates one wall. It is built of local granite, the stones fitted together without mortar in the old way, each one chosen for its shape and placed to interlock with its neighbors. The firebox is deep and wide, designed to burn logs the size of tree trunks. It is cold now, filled with last winter's ashes, but soon it will be lit. Walking through to the kitchen. It is at the back of the house, facing east to catch the morning light. This is a farmhouse kitchen, built for function. A big porcelain sink, chipped and stained, sits beneath the window. A cast iron wood stove, now cold, stands in the corner, its surface pocked with the scars of decades of use. But there is a modern stove too, propane for convenience. The counters are made of butcher block, worn smooth from years of chopping. Open shelves hold mismatched china, and a collection of mason jars filled with dried herbs, their faded labels written in careful calligraphy. The refrigerator hums quietly. Opening it reveals supplies left by the caretaker. A carton of eggs from local chickens, a pat of butter, a jug of milk. And on the counter, a gallon jug of fresh apple cider, cloudy and unfiltered, the color of dark amber. But the kitchen can wait. The pull is to be outside, to catch the last few hours of this golden light before the sun dips behind the western ridge. Unpacking can wait. Dinner can wait. Everything can wait. The back door opens onto a small mudroom, filled with boots and gardening tools and old baskets. Then the screen door pushes open with a creak. And there is the porch. The back porch is the crown jewel of this house. It faces west, overlooking the valley below. It is wide, perhaps 15 feet deep, painted a soft gray that has weathered to silver. The floorboards are spaced slightly apart for drainage, and through the gaps, the earth beneath is visible, dark and loamy. A row of oversized rocking chairs lines the porch, their wood darkened with age, their joints held together with wooden pegs in the traditional way. They are not decorative. They are meant to be sat in, for hours at a time, for generations of sitters. There is also a porch swing at one end, hanging from chains, its cushions faded from the sun. And a small side table, the the perfect size for a mug and a book. Beyond the porch, the land drops away into a gentle valley, then rises again into a wall of mountains. The entire view is a canvas of color, a mosaic of every shade of red, orange, yellow, and green. It is almost too beautiful, almost overwhelming, a visual feast that fills the eyes and stops the thoughts. Standing at the railing, just looking, just breathing, just being here. This is the destination. This is why the drive was worth it. This is where time will stop for a while. But before settling into the rocking chair, provisions are needed. It is chilly out here, true sweater weather. The afternoon sun is warm, but the air has that autumn bite to it. Something hot to drink would be perfect, something to warm the hands and the belly while watching the leaves fall. Back into the kitchen through the screen door. It creaks and bangs shut, the spring pulling it closed. A sound of 100 summers, 100 autumns. On the counter, the gallon jug of local apple cider waits. It is from a nearby orchard, pressed just days ago from a blend of heirloom apple varieties. Macintosh for sweetness, Cortland for depth. A few wild apples from the edge of the orchard for tartness and complexity. The cider is cloudy, almost opaque, unpasteurized and unfiltered. Tiny particles of apple flesh float, suspended in the amber liquid. This is real cider, nothing like the clear, sweet juice in supermarket bottles. A heavy-bottomed saucepan comes out of the cabinet. The cider pours in, glugging from the jug, filling the pan about 2/3 full. Enough for now, with some left over for tomorrow. The spice rack sits on the counter, its jars arranged in neat rows. Opening them one by one, the aromas rise up. A cinnamon stick, curled tight like a scroll of ancient parchment. It is true Ceylon cinnamon, lighter and more complex than the harsher cassia most Americans are used to. It drops into the cider, sinking slowly to the bottom. Whole cloves, looking like tiny medieval nails, their heads studded with potential flavor. 3 of them. Plap, plap, plap. They float briefly, then sink. A single star anise, that beautiful 8-pointed star that tastes of licorice and mystery. It sits on the surface, slowly releasing its essential oils. A strip of orange peel, cut fresh from an orange brought from home. The oils in the peel are visible, little beads that shimmer in the light. The citrus will add brightness, cutting through the sweetness of the cider. A tiny grating of fresh nutmeg, just a whisper, just a suggestion. The flame turns on beneath the pan, a blue ring of propane fire. The heat begins its slow work. Watching the cider. Waiting. The surface is still at first, then tiny bubbles begin to form on the bottom of the pan, pinpricks of heat. They rise, popping at the surface. The cinnamon stick begins to uncurl slightly, releasing its oils. The smell begins to fill the kitchen. First the apple, the pure fruit scent of the cider itself. Then the spices join in, the cinnamon and cloves weaving together, the star anise adding its exotic note. The orange peel releases its citrus brightness. It is the quintessential scent of autumn. It is Thanksgiving and Halloween and harvest festivals. It is wood smoke and wool sweaters and crisp mornings. It is the smell of comfort, distilled into liquid form. The tiny bubbles increase, rising faster now. The surface of the cider trembles, not quite boiling but approaching it. Perfect. The heat turns off. The cider will now steep, the spices continuing to infuse their flavor. A heavy ceramic mug comes out of the cabinet. It is handmade, a local potter's work, glazed in earth tones of brown and amber. The walls are thick, designed to hold heat for a long time. A ladle dips into the pan, carefully avoiding the floating spices, and the steaming liquid pours into the mug. The color is gorgeous, a deep amber that catches the light from the window. Wrapping both hands around the mug, the heat transfers instantly to the palms, almost too hot, but perfect. The steam rises, carrying the fragrance up to the nose. From the living room, a thick wool blanket. It is a traditional tartan pattern, the kind woven in Scotland, but adopted by New Englanders as their own. The colors are deep red and forest green, with thin lines of gold. It is heavy and warm, wool from sheep that know cold climates. Mug in one hand, blanket draped over the shoulder. The screen door pushes open with an elbow. Time to settle in. Time to stop moving. Time to just be. The rocking chair on the far left of the porch seems to call out. It faces the best angle of the view, positioned to catch the afternoon sun and watch the sunset later. The wood is smooth from decades of use, worn into gentle curves that accept the body perfectly. Sinking into the chair, the wool blanket drapes over the legs, tucking in under the boots, creating a cocoon of warmth. The mug rests on the wide armrest, steam still rising. The chair begins to rock, a gentle, unconscious motion. Back and forth. Back and forth. The rhythm is ancient, primal. It is the same motion used to soothe babies, the same motion of waves against a shore, the same motion of breathing itself. In and out. Back and forth. First, a sip of the cider. The liquid is still hot, almost too hot, requiring a careful, testing sip. It hits the tongue, and the flavor unfolds. The apple is there first, tart and sweet, the essence of New England orchards. Then the spices arrive, cinnamon leading the way, cloves following, the licorice hint of star anise bringing up the rear. The orange brightens everything, lifting it. The finish is warm, the heat spreading down the throat into the chest. Another sip. Smaller this time. Savoring it. Then just looking. Just being present in this place, this moment, this chair. The view is spectacular, the kind of view that stops conversation and empties the mind. The land drops away from the porch in a gentle slope, a meadow that was once a working pasture, but has been let go wild. The grass is tall and golden, seed heads nodding in the slight breeze. Goldenrod and asters bloom at the edges, the last wildflowers of the season, providing food for the late-season bees. Beyond the meadow, a band of forest begins. And this is where the color really lives. The trees are shoulder to shoulder, each one competing for the eye's attention. The sugar maples dominate. They are the true monarchs of the New England autumn. Their leaves are broad and five-pointed, the classic maple shape that appears on the Canadian flag. But here in Vermont, they turn colors that seem almost supernatural. Some are pure gold, buttery and bright. Some are orange, the color of pumpkins and tiger lilies. Some have turned red, a deep burgundy that borders on purple. And some, the most magical ones, display all these colors at once, a gradient from green at the branch to red at the tip, as if someone is slowly pouring paint down each leaf. Red maples add their own contribution. Their leaves are smaller, more delicate with deeper lobes. They tend toward the redder end of the spectrum, crimson and scarlet and wine. Paper birches stand out with their white bark, peeling in horizontal strips like parchment, revealing salmon pink inner bark beneath. Their leaves are coins of pure gold, trembling on slender stems, catching the light and scattering it. Oaks are slower to change, reluctant to let go of summer. Their leaves are turning now from green to rust, a more subdued color but beautiful in its earthiness. They will hold their leaves longest, sometimes keeping them through the winter, brown and rattling in the wind. And piercing through all this color, the dark, evergreen spikes of the eastern white pines. Their needles are soft and long, bunched in groups of 5. They provide a contrast that makes the foliage colors pop even more, the way a black frame makes a painting stand out. It looks like the world is on fire, but it is a cold, quiet fire. A fire of chemistry, of chlorophyll retreating and revealing the pigments that were there all along, hidden by the green. Carotenoids for the yellows and oranges. Anthocyanins for the reds and purples. These colors were always present in the leaves, masked by the working green. Now, as the trees prepare for winter, the masks come off. The chair rocks. The cider cools slightly in the mug. The eyes move across the landscape, finding new details. There is a gap in the trees, a ravine where a stream must run. The trees there are taller, fed by the water. A flash of movement catches the eye. A deer, perhaps, or a wild turkey. Gone before it can be identified. Higher up, where the mountains rise, the colors grade into the dark green of spruce and fir. These are the boreal trees, the northern species that will stay green through the winter, tough and hardy. The line where the deciduous trees end and the conifers begin is visible, a horizontal band across the mountainside, marking elevation and temperature. Above that, the peaks are bare rock, gray granite exposed by the retreating glaciers 10,000 years ago. The highest summits are already dusted, with early snow, white caps against the blue sky. The whole scene is so beautiful it almost hurts. It is the kind of beauty that makes the chest tight, that makes the eyes sting. It is the beauty of impermanence, of a moment that will not last. These colors will be gone in a week. The wind will strip the trees. The rain will pound the leaves into the earth. Winter is coming. This is the last hurrah. And being here to witness it feels like a privilege. A gift from the dying year. Sitting so still that the local residents begin to forget anyone is there. The rocking has slowed, almost stopped. The breathing is shallow and quiet. The body has become part of the furniture, part of the porch, part of the landscape. A gray squirrel appears on the porch railing. He is sudden and surprising, arriving from nowhere, materializing out of the afternoon light. His tail is enormous, bushy and gray with a silver sheen, twitching constantly as if it has its own nervous system. He has an acorn in his mouth, a prize gathered from the oak trees at the edge of the property. He is busy, focused on his work. This is the season of hoarding, of preparation. Every squirrel in Vermont is working overtime, burying thousands of acorns and nuts, building a pantry against the lean months to come. He pauses on the railing, just 3 feet away. His black beady eyes regard the figure in the chair. He is assessing the threat level. His nose twitches, tiny nostrils flaring, sniffing the air. He decides. The figure in the chair is just another piece of furniture. It does not smell like a predator. It is not moving. It is safe. He scampers past, his tiny claws clicking softly on the painted wood. He leaps to the porch column, climbs it in a spiral, and vanishes onto the roof. A moment later, his footsteps can be heard overhead, a rapid patter crossing the shingles. Smiling. feeling honored by his trust. Below the porch, in the tall grass of the meadow, movement. Larger movement. Dark shapes bobbing in the golden stalks. Wild turkeys. A flock of them, perhaps a dozen, moving through the grass like a flotilla of small ships. They are ungainly birds, awkward and comical on the ground, bobbing their small heads with each step. But they are also survivors, tough and adaptable, thriving in the woods of New England where they were once hunted to near extinction. The males, the toms, have bright red wattles hanging from their necks and iridescent bronze feathers that catch the light. The females are duller, brown and gray, focused on the serious business of finding food. They are pecking at the ground, scratching with their powerful feet, uncovering seeds and insects and fallen berries. Watching them for a long time. They are completely unaware of being observed, or if they are aware, they do not care. They move slowly across the meadow, a gentle wave of activity, then disappear into the tree line. High above, a cry. A piercing, descending scream that echoes off the hills. Looking up, a red-tailed hawk is circling overhead, riding the thermal currents that rise from the warm valley floor. Its wingspan is impressive, perhaps 4 feet, the feathers at the wingtips spread like fingers. The tail is its namesake, a broad fan of rusty red that catches the sun. It is hunting. Its eyes, impossibly sharp, are scanning the meadow below for movement. A mouse. A vole. A careless squirrel. It circles slowly, patient and methodical, a predator in its element. But here on the porch, there is no violence. Only observation. The hawk is just another part of the ecosystem, playing its role, keeping the mouse population in check. There is no malice in it. It is simply nature, beautiful and indifferent. The hawk drifts lower, uncertain. Perhaps it has spotted something. Then it adjusts its wings and soars higher, catching a fresh thermal, spiraling up until it is just a speck against the blue sky. A watcher in the rocking chair, witnessing the great preparation. Everything in nature is getting ready for the sleep of winter. The trees are pulling their sap down into their roots, storing energy for the spring. The animals are fattening up, adding layers of fat to survive the frozen months. The birds are migrating, millions of them moving south along the Atlantic flyway, following ancient routes encoded in their genes. There is a sense of busyness, of urgency, but also a sense of ending, of completion. The year is wrapping up its business, closing its accounts, preparing to rest. It creates a feeling that slowing down is the right thing to do. That preparing to rest is the natural order. The trees are not fighting winter, they are accepting it. The animals are not resisting the cold, they are adapting to it. And sitting here, on this porch, wrapped in this blanket, sipping this cider, it is easy to feel part of that rhythm. To accept that rest is coming. To welcome it. A blue jay lands on the porch railing, startling with its sudden appearance. It is gorgeous, bright blue and white, with a jaunty crest and bold black markings. It cocks its head, regarding the scene, then screams its harsh call and flies off. Blue jays are the town criers of the forest, announcing everything, keeping everyone informed. Smiling at its rudeness. The chair rocks again. The cider is cooler now, comfortable to drink in larger sips. The afternoon is passing. The light is beginning to change. The shadows are lengthening, reaching across the meadow like dark fingers. The golden hour is approaching. The sun begins to dip behind the western ridge. This is the golden hour, the magic time that photographers dream of. The light changes quality, transforming from bright yellow to a deep, rich honey color that seems to have weight and texture. Every photographer knows this light. It is warm, diffused, forgiving. It makes skin glow, makes colors saturate, makes everything look beautiful. But seen from this porch, it is not about photography. It is about witnessing, about being present as the day performs its final act. Everything the light touches turns magical. The white paint of the farmhouse turns pink, then peach, then a warm rose gold. The grain of the old wood becomes visible, highlighted by the low angle of the sun. Every imperfection is beautiful, every crack tells a story. The trees in the valley intensify. The yellows become gold. The oranges become copper. The reds deepen to crimson, to burgundy, to wine. It is as if someone is turning up a dial, saturating the colors beyond what seems possible. The shadows stretch out from the trees, long and purple, reaching across the meadow. They are cool where they fall, a sharp contrast to the warm light where the sun still reaches. The interplay between light and shadow creates depth, dimension, drama. A slight breeze picks up, the evening wind beginning its descent from the cooling mountains. The trees shiver. A shower of leaves releases from a nearby maple. They catch the golden light as they fall, spinning and tumbling, each one a tiny flame against the darkening sky. They drift down slowly, rocking back and forth in the air, taking their time. They look like gold coins falling from the sky, like a treasure scattered by unseen hands, like the year giving away its wealth. One single leaf, perfectly formed, detaches from a branch just above the porch. A sugar maple leaf, 5-pointed, the size of a hand. It is red, not pure red, but a gradient from orange at the stem to deep crimson at the tips. Following its journey, it spirals once, twice. It catches an updraft from the warm porch and rises briefly. Then it falls again, spins, and lands softly on the porch railing, just an arm's length away. Reaching for it. The stem is thin, the stem end brown where it's separated from the branch. The leaf itself is dry, but not yet brittle, still flexible, still supple. The veins are visible, a branching network of channels that once carried water and nutrients from root to tip. Holding it up to the fading light, the sun shines through it, backlighting the cellular structure. The colors glow, luminous and alive. It is a perfect specimen, a souvenir of this moment. It finds a place on the small table next to the now empty mug. A bookmark from October. A memory pressed between the pages of time. The sun continues its descent. The disk touches the ridgeline, then begins to sink behind it. The temperature drops noticeably, several degrees in just a few minutes. The blanket pulls tighter around the shoulders. The rocking slows. The sky above turns a gradient of colors, a spectrum painted by the atmosphere. Pale blue at the zenith, unmarked by clouds. Then deeper blue, shading into teal. Then a band of peach, warm and soft. Then coral. Then a burning strip of violet and magenta right at the horizon, where the sun has just disappeared. The first star appears. Venus, actually, not a star at all but a planet, but appearing as the brightest point of light in the darkening sky. It hangs in the west, steady and brilliant, the evening star. As the light fades further, more stars emerge. They do not appear gradually. They pop into existence, one by one, as if someone is turning on switches in the heavenly switchboard. The Milky Way begins to show, a faint haze across the eastern sky that will become a river of light as full darkness falls. The crickets begin to chirp. They have been silent during the heat of the day, but now they tune up, one by one, until the whole meadow is vibrating with their chorus. It is a slow, rhythmic thrumming, a pulsing wall of sound that is oddly soothing. A barred owl calls from the woods. Its voice is distinctive, a series of hoots that sounds like it is asking, "Who cooks for you?" Who cooks for you all, the southern accent of the bird world. It is beginning its nightly hunt, preparing to mouse in the meadow. The day is done. The curtain is falling on the show of colors. The gray of twilight begins to wash the saturation out of the landscape. The orange turns to rust. The red turns to brown. The gold turns to gray. The world is fading to monochrome, preparing for sleep. It is dark now, truly dark, darker than it ever gets in the city. The sky is black velvet, pricked with thousands of stars that would be invisible through the light pollution of an urban area. The Milky Way stretches overhead, a pale river of light, billions of stars too faint to see individually, but combining into that ancient glow. Standing up from the rocking chair. The joints are stiff from sitting so long, but the body is deeply relaxed, more relaxed than it has been in months. The muscles have unknotted. The shoulders have dropped. The jaw has unclenched. The mug with its cold dregs of cider. The perfect maple leaf. These come along, treasures of the afternoon. Walking back into the kitchen through the screen door. The electric light feels harsh after the softness of the dusk, almost painful to the eyes, so the switch stays off. Navigation by the blue light of the evening coming through the windows is enough. The shapes of the furniture are visible, ghostly but clear. The living room waits, its fireplace cold and dark. Now is the time to light the fire. There is a basket of kindling beside the hearth, thin sticks of dry wood, and a stack of newspapers from the past month. A match strikes on the box, flaring bright, the sulfur smells sharp and familiar. The flame touches the newspaper, which catches immediately, blooming into yellow fire. The kindling catches next, crackling and popping as the dry wood heats up. Then a small log, no bigger than an arm, laid across the burning sticks. The fire licks at it, testing, tasting, then begins to consume it. Within minutes, a real fire is burning. The flames dance and flicker, casting moving shadows on the plaster walls. The smell of wood smoke fills the room, that ancient smell that speaks to something deep in the human brain, something that remembers a million years of fire-lit caves. Sitting on the sofa, facing the fire, the old cushions accept the body, sagging in familiar ways. The wool blanket comes up again, covering the legs, trapping the warmth. Just watching the fire. There is nothing else to do. No television, no phone signal, no Wi-Fi. Just the fire and the dark, and the night sounds outside. The flames are hypnotic. The patterns never repeat. Blue at the base, where the hottest combustion occurs. Yellow in the middle, where the gases ignite. Orange and red at the tips, where the energy dissipates. White at moments of intense heat. The colors swirl and dance, a silent movie of chemistry. The logs shift and settle, sending up showers of sparks that spiral up the chimney like escaping fireflies. The wood pops occasionally, pockets of moisture exploding into steam, little fireworks in the flames. The heat radiates out, warming the face, the hands, the whole front of the body. Behind, the room is cooler, creating a pleasant asymmetry, warm in front, cool behind. This is what the fireplace was designed for, before central heating, before electricity, before the modern world. This is ancient warmth. A feeling of fullness settles in. Not hunger, not thirst, but satisfaction. The beauty of the day, the colors, the light, the wildlife, the sunset. It is all imprinted on the mind now, recorded in memory. It will be there in January, in February, when the world is gray and frozen. A reserve of gold to draw upon. Heaviness settles into the limbs. The fresh mountain air has oxygenated the blood, flushed out the toxins of city living, but it has also brought a deep physical tiredness. The kind of tired that comes from breathing deeply, from walking on uneven ground, from simply being present in a place. It is a good kind of tired. The best kind. The eyelids grow heavy. The fire becomes a blur of color and warmth. The sounds of the house, the creak of old wood, the tick of cooling timbers, the distant hoot of the owl, they all blend together into a lullaby. Lying down on the sofa, not meaning to sleep here but too comfortable to move. The head finds the armrest. The blanket pulls up to the chin. The fire continues to burn, needing no tending, consuming its logs slowly. The house settles around its guest. Creak. Pop. Shift. 4 walls of old wood and stone, sheltering from the cold night outside. The windows are black mirrors, reflecting the firelight, showing nothing of the world beyond. Outside, the wind picks up, rustling the dry leaves in one last dance. They swirl and settle, swirl and settle. It sounds like the ocean, like waves on a distant shore. Eyes close. Safe. Warm. At rest. Part of this old house. Part of this ancient season. Part of the turning year. The fire crackles. The house creaks. The wind whispers. Drifting away now. Drifting like a leaf on the wind. Spinning slowly downward, toward the soft earth of sleep. Dreaming of gold and red. Dreaming of mountains and mist. Dreaming of Vermont in autumn. Good night. Waking slowly. Not to an alarm, not to noise, but to the gradual lightening of the room. The fire has died overnight, leaving only gray ash and a few glowing embers in the hearth. The room is cool, the air fresh, the blanket pulled up tight. The light coming through the windows is pale, the color of milk. It is early, very early, the hour when the world is still quiet, still transitioning from night to day. Through the window, the sky is a soft gray blue, not yet touched by the sun. Sitting up slowly. The sofa has been surprisingly comfortable, the old cushions molding to the body's shape. But the neck is stiff, the shoulder a bit sore. Standing, stretching, vertebrae popping back into alignment. The kitchen calls. Coffee is needed. The farmhouse kitchen is cold, the propane stove having cooled overnight. But there is a coffee pot on the counter, an old-fashioned percolator, and a can of ground coffee. Vermont roast, dark and strong. The water pours in, the coffee grounds go in the basket, and the flame lights beneath it. While the coffee percolates, bubbling and sputtering, the back door opens onto the porch. The screen door creaks, the morning air rushes in. It is cold. Genuinely cold. The grass is white with frost, millions of ice crystals coating each blade. The meadow has been transformed overnight into a glittering wonderland. It crunches underfoot, the frozen dew snapping beneath boots. Breath mists in the air great clouds of white that hang and dissolve. The cider mug from yesterday, left on the porch railing, has a skim of ice on the dregs. The overnight temperature must have dropped below freezing. But the sky is clear, promising another beautiful day. The eastern horizon is beginning to pink, the first hint of sunrise. The mountains are silhouettes, dark shapes against the brightening sky. Back inside for the coffee. It has finished percolating, filling the kitchen with that dark, bitter, welcoming scent. Pouring into the mug, adding a splash of the fresh milk from the refrigerator, watching it swirl in cream-colored clouds. Coffee in hand, blanket over shoulders, back out to the porch. The rocking chair is cold, the wood covered in dew. But sitting anyway, the blanket beneath, the warmth of the coffee mug warming the hands. Watching the sunrise. The eastern sky deepens from pink to coral to orange. The sun is coming, just below the ridge, sending rays of light shooting up into the sky. They fan out like fingers, like the spokes of a wheel, illuminating the undersides of high, thin clouds. Then the sun appears. The first sliver of brilliant yellow, breaking the ridge line. It is blinding, too bright to look at directly, but the light it throws is gorgeous. It sweeps across the valley like a tide coming in, touching first the highest treetops, then the meadow, then the porch itself. The frost begins to melt immediately. The grass sparkles more brightly for a moment, catching the low light, then the ice turns to dew, then the dew evaporates. Within minutes, the white meadow has returned to gold. The coffee is hot and strong, exactly what the morning requires. Sipping slowly, watching the light change, feeling the warmth begin to return to the air. A thought forms, a walk. A proper walk through the property, through the woods, up to see whatever views wait beyond the tree line. Draining the coffee, setting the mug on the railing. Going inside for warmer clothes. In the bedroom, pulling on layers. A thermal undershirt. A fleece. A windbreaker on top. Thick wool socks, broken-in hiking boots. A hat against the morning chill. Ready. The back door opens onto the meadow. A path is visible, a worn track through the tall grass, leading towards the tree line. It is probably an old farm road, used by generations to access the back woodlot for firewood and timber. Following the path. The grass is still damp, brushing against the legs, leaving dark, wet stripes on the fabric. The morning is quiet, the wildlife still drowsy, the birds just beginning their first songs. Entering the woods. The temperature drops immediately, the shade blocking the warm sun. But the light is beautiful here, slanting through the trunks at a low angle, casting long shadows, illuminating the forest floor in patches of gold. The trail winds uphill, a gentle grade, the ground covered in a thick carpet of fallen leaves. They crunch underfoot, releasing their earthy scent. Occasionally, a root crosses the path, requiring a careful step. Occasionally, a fallen branch must be stepped over. The trees here are mostly maples and birches, their trunks gray and white, their branches bare now of most leaves. But some hold on, clinging to the last bits of color, refusing to let go. A breeze stirs them, and a few more let fall, spinning down through the shafts of light. A brook appears, cutting across the path. It is small, perhaps 2 feet wide, running fast over a bed of smooth stones. A simple wooden bridge spans it, 2 planks laid across, the wood weathered gray. Stopping on the bridge, looking down at the water. It is crystal clear, cold, probably fed by springs higher up the mountain. White foam gathers at the edges, where the current meets resistance. Continuing uphill. The trail steepens now, the legs beginning to feel the work. The breathing deepens, the heart rate rises. But it is good work, honest work, the body doing what it was designed to do. The trees begin to thin. The view begins to open. And then, suddenly, the trail ends at a rocky outcrop, a bare granite ledge jutting out from the hillside. Stepping onto the rock. Looking out. The entire valley spreads below, a bowl of color and light. The farmhouse is visible below, small and white, a toy house in a toy landscape. The meadow is a golden square. The road is a gray ribbon winding through the trees. And beyond, more mountains, receding into the blue haze of distance, each ridge a paler shade of blue, until they fade into the sky itself. This is what the climb was for. This is the reward. Sitting on the cold granite, legs dangling over the edge. Just breathing. Just looking. Just being here, in this place, in this moment, in this perfect autumn morning. The sun is warm on the face. The air is clean in the lungs. The beauty is almost painful. Sitting for a long time. Not thinking about anything. Not planning anything. Just existing. Eventually, the body cools, the rock too cold for comfort. Standing, taking one last long look at the view. Memorizing it. Burning it into the mind. Then turning, heading back down the trail, back to the farmhouse, back to another day of porch sitting and leaf watching, and simply being present in Vermont in autumn. Back at the farmhouse, the afternoon stretches out in comfortable idleness. The morning walk has earned a rest, and the porch is calling again. But first, lunch. Something simple, assembled from the provisions bought at the general store. The kitchen is warm now, sun streaming through the east-facing windows. Laying out the ingredients on the butcher block counter. The wedge of sharp Vermont cheddar, aged for 2 years, its interior studded with crystals of concentrated flavor. A fresh loaf of bread from the general store, crusty and dense. The jar of local honey, golden and thick. An apple from a basket left by the caretaker, a Honeycrisp, the variety invented at the University of Minnesota that has become the king of eating apples. Building the sandwich. The bread slices with a satisfying crunch. The cheddar cuts with the knife at an angle, revealing the white crystals within. Laying the cheese on the bread, thick slices that will melt if the sandwich is toasted. But no toasting today. A cold sandwich, simple and perfect. A drizzle of honey over the cheese, the sweetness playing against the sharp, salty dairy. The apple slices on the side, cut into wedges, their flesh white and crisp, their skin a gradient of red and gold. Taking the plate out to the porch. The same rocking chair, the same view, but the light is different now. The midday sun is high, casting short shadows, making the colors look slightly washed out. The dramatic lighting of morning and evening is absent, but there is a quiet beauty to the flat light of noon. Eating slowly. The bread is chewy and satisfying. The cheese is